Do you cut calories or do you cut steps? Most advice online is going to tell you either or. Cut calories will create a bigger deficit. Increase in steps will create a bigger deficit because it's more expenditure. But the problem is, what do you do for yourself? What works best for you? I'm going to explain that in this video. And you can then make the choice of, do you cut your calories or do you increase your steps? Hello, I'm Charlie and I'm the co-founder of Potential Coaching, and over the past 3 years we've helped transform over 500 people's lives. If you would like help with your weight loss journey, there'll be a link in the description below. This is a very common question that's asked, and we always wonder, why is it asked so much? And I personally believe it's because most people will feel like that they have to pick one or the other. In most people, when they want to do a diet, they feel like their best approach is cutting calories because that's the most diet-like thing to do. Other ways to create a calorie deficit, and that can be increasing your expenditure through your steps. And that can actually be one of the easiest ways because it can feel less restrictive. You've just got the pros and cons for each. So what happens when you cut your calories? In the short term, it's going to work fast, you're going to lose weight, see the scales go down, and probably have high motivation because you think, oh my God, this is working. In the medium term, you've got an increase in hunger. You can have a drop in energy. Adherence can start to sway side to side. You're never always on it. There's the voices that start to tempt you in. Your body's going to start to adapt to the deficit without you actually changing anything. And most people will struggle around 4 to 6 weeks in. Now, when you increase your steps, it can feel slower to start with because it can take longer to see the scales to move. But it's much easier to sustain and it doesn't feel like you're dieting. Now, the point I'm getting to is, you don't have to continue to drop your calories every single time. You can just increase your steps by 1,000 every week for a while, as long as you go into a deficit as well. But most people's go-to is changing the calories when they don't see things going their way. But you have other levers that you can pull on. And NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is one of the most underrated fat loss tools. And that's basically just non-exercise movement. Steps falls into that one. So 10,000 steps a day could burn 300 to 500 calories depending on the person, and that's without even touching your food, without changing what you're having. The problem most people have is they're going to treat them as competitors, or they're going to look at it as, you can't do both. You can only do one or the other. Now, they will work simultaneously without you really thinking about it. You've got to do movement throughout the day. You've got to walk, which is going to be burning calories. And if you can put yourself in a small deficit, you just create a slightly bigger deficit, but the step side of things super sustainable and you're not in as big of a food deficit. So always look at it as calories in, which is your nutrition. Calories out, which is your movement. Everyone says, it's always calories in versus calories out. You can push both, and you can push both a little bit slower and more sustainably. When not to increase your steps, I personally think if you feel like you can't physically get any more steps in throughout the day, that means you could be pushing 12,000 steps and you think, oh my God, I cannot do any more. Then you're going to have to drop your calories. I've spoken to a lot of people that feel like they don't have loads of time, so they would rather just drop their calories a little bit. And then there's other people that love food and don't want to drop them anymore, so they'd rather push themselves to do more movement. And you can weigh the pros and cons. How I personally would use them is put yourself in a 500 calorie deficit and then take your weekly step goal or step average that you're currently doing and add 2,000 steps to it. Once you've got this, run with that for a few weeks. Only when the scales start to plateau over a 2 to 3 week period, I would increase something. Now, the first thing that I would increase is your expenditure, so your steps. I would increase them by 1,000 to 2,000 steps and see how things go over the next week or two. If the scales keep moving, then you can stay like that. If they don't, I would then drop my calories by 100. This way, you're always pushing your movement first while being able to eat more food. Because in the long run, there's going to be a time where you can't do any more steps, so you're going to have to lean a little bit more in to the calories in. If you cut them too quickly, then you've got no leeway to cut them because you're already on 1,200 calories. You're already on 1,000 calories, but you're doing 10,000 steps and you think that's your max. So if you want to get the best results, do both together. Smaller but more consistent will help. So when it comes to what works faster, obviously pure calorie cutting in the first 2 to 4 weeks will be quick. You know that beyond that, it's not going to be as sustainable. Steps will be the most sustainable overall. So what you want to look at is not how can I lose weight faster, it's how can I lose weight sustainably. Because what you don't want to do is lose weight for 4 weeks, struggle, so then you eat more food and put the weight back on and you just go in that cycle. Each month you're going into a new deficit. But you could do it whereas you've got a good step goal that you can work towards and you've got yourself a calorie deficit that is sustainable to you, and manage this, because if you can keep that consistent, you will lose weight consistently. So if you want to lose fat and keep it off, do both. Put yourself in a 500 calorie deficit and then take your daily step goal or step average currently and add 2,000 on that. That's your starting point. Do not slash your calories dramatically. Set your step target and treat it as a non-negotiable. Track both. So track your steps. Have a watch on. Use MyFitnessPal. Track your food. If you don't know how many steps you're doing across the day, how do you know if you're hitting targets? If you don't know how much food you're eating, how do you know if you're eating in a calorie deficit? The people that win at fat loss, the people that succeed at fat loss long term are the ones that do both and do it smartly. If you like this video, please make sure you like and subscribe. I'm posting 2 weight loss videos every single week to help you with your journey.